Well, I always seem to be making weird connections in my mind. Certain things hit me and I go, that sounds a lot like my recovery journey, or that speaks to recovery. Recently, I heard a news story about the weight loss drug Ozempic, and I thought, wow, now that is a great parallel to recovery from embedded porn use. So today, I want to explore the connection between porn recovery and weight loss drugs. Welcome aboard.
Ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, if you've been connected with me for any time through this podcast, Finding Traction, you know that a great way to connect with some of the resources that I'm offering people is on the Circle Learning platform. And in the show notes, you can see the sign-up information where you can sign up for free on Circle and get access to not just the podcast that I do, but also a whole bunch of different worksheets to help you track your information. Recently, I went back and used one of my worksheets to plan out this week that I'm in right now. It made a huge difference in mapping out my week and preparing for it. That's just one of about 25 different documents on there. There's also information about the 52-week video course called Finding Traction to take you through your first full year of recovery. You can see the first 2 lessons on there for free and download the worksheets. And there's also information on how to purchase all 52 weeks. Also, there's information there about the Finding Traction groups that I run. I'm running a group. I'm just starting a group right now for people in full-time Christian ministry. And if you're interested in that, you can find out more by getting a hold of me. Also, I do what I just call regular Joe's group, just regular groups for people from all different backgrounds. And we walk through together this whole course, and it's been very helpful for guys as well. So if any of that interests you, or you just want to arrange for a free Zoom call with me to talk a little bit more about your recovery needs, I'd love you to get a hold of me. My email is bandofbrothers.care@gmail.com. Okay, let's get back to this weird connection that I made between weight loss drugs like Ozempic and recovery. Now, most of us, either we may be on or we know people who are taking one of the popular weight loss drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, all sorts of other ones that are out there. And they're super popular because, by and large, they work. They both, and I did a little bit of chat GPT here, they mimic the natural hormone in your body called GLP-1 that does some really amazing things. First of all, the drug reduces appetite, including helping you feel full sooner, reducing cravings, and even lowering food noise. Food noise is those constant thoughts you have about eating. Apparently, they also slow stomach emptying, which leaves food in your stomach longer and lets you feel fuller longer. They apparently affect your weight regulation hormones, and they improve your blood sugar control. Now, that's obviously one of the applications around diabetes, where they originally, the research went into. And the result is, by and large, these drugs work. For example, with Wegovy, they were saying on average over about 15 months, a person lost 15% of their initial body weight. That would be roughly 30 to 37 pounds if you weighed between 200 and 220 pounds. Over half lost even more than that. Ozempic is similar, and 10 to 12% of your body weight, depending on how high of a dose you take. So by and large, these things really work. And so you might ask, well, why isn't everybody who struggles with their weight taking them? Well, the reason is, first of all, is because there are some downsides. Number one, many people have side effects. For example, I know people who've taken Ozempic, started it and had to stop because of things like nausea, constipation, or bloating, acid reflux. And not everybody feels that, but apparently with some people, certain of these drugs come with stronger side effects than with other people. So that's one reason why people may not want to take those drugs. Another one is, unless you're independently wealthy, many people find they're expensive. On the average budget, apparently Ozempic costs somewhere around, here it was anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month. Wegovy listed at $1,350, but you can get cheaper discounts. I had to laugh. You can actually get some, like the first 2 months at a really cheap price, and they get you hooked, almost like a drug pusher. So you can sometimes sign up at a really cheap price, and then after you start taking these things, the price goes up. Now, obviously, there are some plans that cover it, but most people find the cost of it pretty considerable. And so because of that, oftentimes people go, okay, well, I'm going to take this for a certain period of time. Let's say 6 months to a year, or a year and a half, and I'm going to lose the weight that I want to lose. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop paying for the cost of those drugs, because obviously I'm going to have new habits, and I will just carry on those habits without the drugs or the costs involved with them, which on one hand, yeah, it makes perfect, reasonable sense, doesn't it? But, and here's the news story that got me thinking about recovery. Here's the reality. Most people regain 2/3 or more of their lost weight within a year after stopping taking these drugs. And regaining that weight happens within weeks. In other words, these meds work only while you're on them. And stopping usually leads to that weight being regained, no matter how much you try to simply live out those new habits. And you say, well, why is that? Well, the reality is that without those drugs, you now have a number of things that start working against you. First of all, your hunger hormones rebound hard. And so all of a sudden, your brain now thinks you're underfueled and pushes you to eat more. And that's the biology of it. Here's another interesting one. Your brain defends your old weight. Now, that's interesting. It's like your brain has a weight set point that it tries to protect. And it perceives weight loss as a threat. Now, the nice thing with those drugs is those drugs temporarily override the system. But when the drug stops, the brain perceives weight loss as a threat. Your metabolism slows, appetite increases, and your fat storage becomes more efficient. It's like your biology goes back and now works against you. Stomach emptying speeds back up. And you go, wow, this is crazy. In fact, the other thing that happens without the drug is now you go back to the same amount of food noise that you had before. Your brain is constantly now thinking about food where it wasn't before. Once you stop those drugs, that internal pull comes back. Okay. Now you might say, well, all that's interesting, but what does that possibly have to do with recovery from embedded porn use? Now, some of you have probably already been building some bridges here, but let me kind of talk about a few of the parallels that came to my mind. Now, let's just say you realize, oh my goodness, I have a problem. Like maybe you felt I am significantly overweight. You go, you know what? I have got a porn problem. You not only come to a place of awareness, but you come to a place of readiness and you go, okay, I need to do something different. I need to start down this path of recovery. So you start learning about medication, recovery medication. And that's what we're going to call this. And my entire course, Finding Traction, teaches you and helps you implement recovery medication, so to speak. So things like you begin to create safe technology. You learn to practice new daily rituals to get your head in the game. These are all medications you take. You listen to things that teach you new things and remind you of the rightness of the path you're on. You learn to practice new levels of honesty with others. You learn to identify mistaken beliefs and deal with some of the pain that you've been running to medicate with porn. These are all medication. You develop patterns of connection to get the necessary level of support to help you on what has been to now an unfamiliar path of now walking free from those old urges that you had. And many guys, I would say most guys, they find as they rigorously and honestly and consistently take their medication, they begin to shed, get the metaphor, they shed the pounds of porn use and they begin to walk in new levels of freedom. And I see that over and over and over again with guys. It's not perfect. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But over time, they see their porn use diminish and they begin to experience new freedom in their lives. All right, tracking with me so far? Now, this is what often happens. At some point, we figure, and I say we because I am susceptible to the same thing, we figure, okay, I think I've got this. I know I do. I think I've got this. The frequency has gone way down, or I'm experiencing long streaks of sobriety, and I think it's time that I can begin to stop taking the medication that has got me here. And partly the reason, and one of the reasons that is such a tempting alternative is because, frankly, the time and energy and expense and money you might have put into getting here, all of that is an inconvenience. All of that is a cost. And you start thinking, I really would love to see the benefits, and I'd like to cut down significantly on the cost that I have put into getting here. So what happens is some of those, guys begin to do that. And then here's some of the ways they stop taking their medication. And it might not be all of them, but it's some of them. You might say, you know what? I'm going to loosen up some of these technology restrictions. I've stopped using certain social media apps. And but I really like those apps because they enable me to, connect with family, or they give me a lot of fun and enjoyment. And so maybe I start loosening up on technology restrictions. And so you go, all right, maybe I start to no longer check in my slips, even those edging ones. And where I used to always do that when I was in a group, now I don't check those little slips, those little habits that I do where I start taking little sips of something. Or maybe I tell myself, that was just a one-time thing. I don't need to check that in. Maybe we pull back from regular interaction with the group or a good accountability partner. And slowly but surely, we find ourselves back and our weight begins to go back up. We find ourselves beginning to return to those old patterns. Well, why is that? Well, just like with food, food noise, our brain doesn't forget. I remember what made me feel good. Instead of food noise, we have porn noise. Our body doesn't forget. We remember what used to make our bodies feel good. And here's the interesting thing. Let's say, for example, I'll just pick a couple arbitrary weights. Let's say you used to weigh 250 pounds, and now you only weigh 200 pounds. You've lost 50 pounds in my math, right? But let me say this, trust me, your body remembers 250. It's not the same as if you never were 250. Your body remembers it, and very quickly you can go back to what your body remembers. I've even found, I'm always amazed. I always, would think that if I stop taking my medication, I am really slowly going to get back to the worst version of me with porn. But you know what? I'm fooling myself. And I listen to guys who maybe have been out of recovery for a while, and then they call me and they say some version of this. I cannot believe how quickly I returned to the same extent, the worst place I was before. I didn't start at the beginning again. I just went right back to the places I was before. Now, I'm not saying that the progress you've made, even if you slip back, wasn't genuine. And I'm not even saying that you need to be in the same level of intensity in your recovery for the rest of your life. Because I think there's things that we do in the course and we do in those first few months of recovery where we're so focused, we're changing everything all at once. It requires such an intentionality and an intensity. And I'm not saying that that's going to have to be practiced all the rest of your life. But what I am saying is this: there is a necessary level of focus that you cannot abandon if you value your recovery. You can't go back to the same old, same old. Here's an example. I know that I will never be able to handle open internet access. That's just not me. It's like if I was an alcoholic, I couldn't have a bottle of Jack Daniels in a cupboard somewhere. I might not go to it 9 times out of 10 or 98 times out of 100, but eventually I would be back opening the bottle up. I know, me personally, I will always need to be in some version of robust weekly accountability, where not only I check the big things in, but I check in the little games that my mind tries to play with me. For me, some of those things are non-negotiable. Otherwise, I'll be right back to where I was before, and most likely even worse off. So if you are on weight loss medication, hate to tell you, but if you like your new weight, that is probably your new reality. If your recovery medication has got you to where you are and you like it, by and large, you are going to be a recovery guy till they put you in an old folks' home. And maybe even when you get into a home, you're going to need to start a group, because I've heard some crazy things about old folks' homes. So anyways, hope you like those connections. a little bit of ramblings from my mind. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.